one after another and another. We see these lists all the time. Who's the greatest of this? Who's the greatest of that? Who's the greatest of all time? Who's the GOAT? Well, we're now entering a territory here where, in theory, Kirby Smart, Georgia's head coach, has just signed a new contract going into next decade. Okay, and this has been a pretty good decade for Georgia so far already. We're talking about another decade of Kirby coaching at Georgia. If the past is any indication of the future, you're looking at least two more national championships under Kirby Smart's watch. So then the question becomes, what's the ceiling, right? And I'm not going to talk about the over under. I'm going to talk about when you are at this stage in your career. There's no one else in college football that's better than you are. There's no one that's produced more. There's a person that's produced the same, but that person seems, perhaps on the down end of their time. And Clemson can say something about that in this first game. We'll see what happens there. But it seems now like essentially this is Kirby versus ghosts. Um, you know, we'll see if Steve Sarkisian becomes the next big battle for Georgia. We'll see if it's Ryan Day. Could somebody, could Florida, if they hire Lane Kiffin, is that the right fit, the right match, the right place, the right thing to, get the Gators going again? I mean, my take on that's not going to get it done over the long term against Georgia's Kirby Smart machine. Okay. So now it comes down to, can Kirby outpace the rest of college football? He's already the best coach in Georgia history. Um, all due respect to Vince, no. Vince was really, really good. I would argue he was a better administrator than he was a coach, to be honest with you. But when you think about how many national championships he hired, I mean, golly, Suzanne, Manny, I mean, like Jack Bowerly, all those. I mean, Andy Landers never won a national championship, but I can assure you, Andy Landers is one of the greatest coaches in women's basketball history. Vince was a better administrator than he was a coach. Um, One national championship, six SECs back in the time when you could tie for an SEC championship, and that was that counted. So, um, and then Mark never won the national championship, so that's the mark against him. You got Wally, Butts. They don't claim some of the championships, which is ridiculous. Josh, you just got a big bump. You should be claimed. The University of Georgia should claim all of the national championships it is legitimately won, not the one in 1968. All the national championships it's legitimately won. But anyway, when you're chasing ghosts, I'm talking about it's going to be these people. It's going to be, Kirby's is fighting these, fighting these windmills, for lack of a better term. Saban for sure, and that one will always be hard to catch, and I'll get to that in a minute. Bear, Spurrier, um, that trio is the best in SEC history, and probably therefore the best in college football history. You talk about Woody Hayes. I mean, he got his. Schembechler never won the national championship. If Kirby goes out like Woody Hayes punching a Clemson player, I mean, that would be a pretty sad way to go out, to be honest. That would be nuts too. But I don't know. What I'm trying to say is he's got a real opportunity here to dominate the next 15 years of college football. Barry Switzer, Jimmy Johnson, the Miami Machine down there at the time. What Nick did, I think Nick is the one that you watch the closest. Nick Saban's better than Bear Bryant. I don't know that we could say that about Kirby being better than Bear Bryant. I think you legitimately have an argument about him being better than Steve Spurrier. I think it matters more to Kirby than it did to Steve Spurrier, and it mattered a lot to Steve Spurrier. I mean, the genius of Steve Spurrier was that not only did he take a failing program, a program that failed forever at Florida, and turn them into a national power with a national championship at a time, by the way, where their arch rivals were as good as anybody in the country at Florida State. I mean, Spurrier was the head coach of the Gators when the Noles won it in '93 and '99. Now I know so maybe Keon Coleman's watching because he's kind of a big Florida State person and worried about the Dogs and all that. Keon, that was back when the Noles mattered. That was back when they weren't getting their ass beat by 60 points in a major bowl game in their home state. So, somebody wants to send this to them, let me know. Um, Spurrier was the head coach of the Gators at that time. I mean, that was a time when Florida as a state mattered a lot. Georgia doesn't have that in their way. Spurrier had Florida State in their way. I mean, Florida had Tennessee in their way. Nebraska was a national power, huge. Who's that now? Like, it could be that, Alabama for a long time under Saban, I would say Auburn got in their way more than anybody. But the kind of, I hate saying lazy because people misuse that word. The poorly informed would say it was Clemson and LSU, but Auburn got in Alabama's way more than anybody. Just generally speaking, you think about 10, think about 13. 13 cost Alabama a national championship, period. 17, they beat them, didn't get Alabama's way, as it turns out. 19. There were plenty of times where Auburn just beat them. Now, Clemson beat them on bigger stages, but the way in which Auburn did it usually was some wild nutball affair, the comeback, etc. So I don't want to get too far stuck in on all that stuff. But Alabama didn't really have like somebody chilling with them. I mean, it kind of was LSU, and then it became Clemson. That stopped, and then it became Georgia, I guess. And the Georgia and Clemson sort of overlapped. So it was just a different moment in time. In terms of what Georgia, there will always be somebody out there, whether it's Ohio State, it could be Oregon, whether it could be, but now this is, it's, as a person who is at every Georgia game, it's hard to think about legacy when you're photographing them playing, Vanderbilt at home, or in this, when they're playing Mississippi State. That's just another game. But the thing about it is that those games add up, and over time they lead to opportunities. That opportunity in the near future for Georgia is going to be, how many national championships can you rack up between now and when Kirby leaves? And again, I say, Kirby Smart is not the only person who can win national championships at Georgia. He should be celebrated the way he is right now. He should be all um, of the accolades that he gets. He deserves most of them, let me tell you. But someone does need to voice, even if it's him, that there are many challenges still left out there, and he needs to hit his potential. I don't mean this best can sound bad. I don't know what his relationship with Josh Brooks is like, or with Jerry Moorhead. I don't know if they're saying to him, hey man, we just did this contract extension. We're expecting national championships. I don't know that they say that. I don't think you have to say that to that guy, but that is the point. The point is to go win it. Now, when Jake Rowe asked Kirby in 21, before that season, I can't remember exactly how Jake put it, but the question was, and this is the wrong way, but it's basically like, hey, is it really a success if you're not winning the national championship? And I think Kirby's answer at that moment was exactly correct. And then they went on to win 29 of 30 games and 2 national championships. Well, they went on to win, 43 of 45 games and 2 national championships in a 3-year period. And we don't know what next year's like. I mean, he was saying, no, you got to win, and you do. And, has the pressure racked up? No, I don't. Not from the contract, but I do think he's chasing ghosts now. I mean, can you catch the bear? Can he catch Saban? I think it will always be that, he didn't beat him enough. But history, I mean, people have a way of bending history to the way they want to think of it. So that narrative could change too. And over time, people will say, well, yeah, maybe he beat him once and it was for a national championship, but he was at the beginning of his time. Nick was at the end. And are those two things the same thing? What I would say is, well, they were on the field. So, I mean, Nick won those games. But I think over time, he could pass. He certainly could pass Bear. I think he maybe has already passed Spurrier, but let's just see. Um, and that's a heck of a statement, by the way. But I don't know if he'll ever in history people will give him the ability to pass Nick because of the fact that they played so often and that it was lopsided. You know that's the part that will hold them back in terms of all of it. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video.